Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, June 20th, 2024. And item 1 on the agenda is call to order. I'll call the meeting to order at 1:02 p.m. And I'll go ahead and do roll call. Terry Majewski is here. Savannah McDonald.
Here.
Okay, Andrew Christopher. And Ricky Riojas.
Here.
And Commissioners Ireland are not here, and Jan Mulder is not here either. So we do have a quorum with 4. Item 2 is approval of legal action report / minutes for the meeting of June 13th, 2024. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
This is Ricky. I motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, and who will second?
This is Andrew. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion of those minutes? Questions, anything? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Savannah?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Great, thank you. It passes, motion passes 4-0. Okay, item 3 is historic preservation zone review cases. We review these under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0 and historic district design guidelines and revised Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines. Case 3A is SD 0424000037 at 548 East First Street. It's to relocate a house from 1040 North Euclid. It's a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Jody, would you like to give us background on this case, please?
Yes, so this was heard by the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board on Tuesday. They provided some really very draft minutes that I sent out earlier today. Hopefully you received all of those. Now I can't find it. Where was that? 1036. Oh, on the first item, which is 548 East First Street, they made a recommendation to approve as presented, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. They had no conditions for it.
Okay, sounds good. And who do we have here to present on this case?
Noel is here from Schnall and Wilmer. He's the one that you all should know and love. When he is here.
Great, thanks. Go ahead, Noel.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for hearing us today. For a little bit of background here again, this is the relocation of the 420 site. Let me bring this up. For a little bit of additional background, it's kind of 5-year odyssey I think we've been on, so it's been quite a long time. But this is the project for Capstone that has a number of homes, 5 of them moving from Speedway and Euclid over to 2 sites. So this is site 2 on that map there, which is the 548 site. So that will be the 1042. It's actually a duplex, relocating there. One of the reasons we had the meeting last Tuesday, and we appreciate everybody getting this through, and is we actually have the moving folks have a lot of work to do, and timing is a bit of a challenge getting all the schedules to align. So we're hopefully, if all goes well, we will be getting the first house up and on its way here in the next couple of weeks. To summarize everybody, the moving process essentially, each house gets moved, and then a foundation will be constructed, and the next house will come down. So it'll be a house every 8 to 10 days for about 8 weeks or so. So it'll be quite interesting, and quite a bit of process there. But in our last presentation to you all, as well as to the Western University Board, was there was some additional details requested. There's 2 packets that you actually have. So one is kind of just the application items and sort of the paperwork side, which I'm happy to go through, but unless there's any questions, I'll focus on the actual plan itself. I think it's a more important document. And this one, we've again added a lot of notes and information that both we heard as questions from your group as well as from Western University. So for this one, all the packets will be generally similar, except for 548, because it doesn't have a development plan review. It's treated more like a single family home. So the site plan is a little different than the other ones you'll see. But essentially it's a fairly basic single lot subdivision or single lot home type of site plan. And again, you can see here where the home will sit. And the orientation of it will be, and I'll show you the elevations here, but one unit will orient to First Street, and the other unit will orient to Second Avenue, and so they'll each have the direct access to the right of way there. The landscape plan, some folks have questions on landscape. For this particular one, it's a little simpler, again, being a single family treatment in the permitting process. So primarily identifying 3 salvageable plants that will be transplanted back onto the site once the house is placed, and then there's I think one that moves. Again, happy answering questions on that if there are any. And then getting kind of into more of the substance of the plans. We added some additional detail that was requested as you look at the overall floor plan. A couple of things we've added for this particular structure related to for all structures was the location of the existing mechanical. So we're going to have all of the what I'll call ancillary mechanicals. So that's going to be window, swamp coolers or AC units. All of that will be removed off the home. Those won't go back in. The rooftop mechanical for air conditioners and air handlers, that'll all be as is, where is, that'll be brought over, and then depending on the condition, the final owner will either upgrade that or repair that and bring it into place. But each home will be air conditioned and have central air upon completion. So no more of the window units, things of that nature. The other thing that we added was addressing some questions about there was a non-original door in the front of this home that was added. So we will, and I'll show you the images, but basically that'll be that non-original door, and that non-original opening would be taken out and the wall restored to match what we believe would be the more appropriate original condition. You'll see that the photo. We also added to the schedules again doors, detailing on the doors, and then of course the instructions about what to do with them. So most of these homes, the windows actually are in fairly good condition. They do need a lot of sanding, repainting, which will be part of the task of the team as they relocate and put these restore them back in on site. And to kind of refresh everybody's memory on that, Capstone's responsibility is to get the homes over onto site, and then the contracts will require that the exterior of the homes all be restored consistent with these plans. So fresh paint, stucco repair, again, window repair, things of that nature. So from the exterior, the homes will be brought back up to top condition, and then the interiors will be done by the owner as a subsequent tenant improvement type project. So these are all the details on windows and doors. Again, happy to answer questions on that. As I move into the elevational details, again, we picked up more detail that was requested. Again, the mechanical, kind of illustrating what mechanical is today, as well as making sure we capture the chimneys. And on the chimneys, the ones that are kind of center of the roof that would have been ancillary, they may or may not be functional when everything's done, but they will be visually in place and consistent with their current form. So again, looking at these from the exterior, they will be in their as-is, whereas condition. We also worked with the moving folks and the structural engineer on the final details for the foundations. Each one of the homes essentially gets steel slid underneath it. and then that's how the home is moved. And then when it's placed, most of that steel will remain and help support the floors and reinforce the floors, and then interplay with the house and the foundation. So that's the detailing there. And then for each one of the homes, detailing out again a little bit about how the stone applique works to again mimic that current condition that's there. So for example, with this home and the stone base, that would be restored back onto the foundation with the foundation's design. It actually steps in, so there's room for that to be applied to the exterior again to mimic the current look. And updated the materials, again, some of the detailing related to patch and repair, as well as dealing with some of the color questions we had. So we identified appropriate colors that are available in the marketplace here. So there's some instructions to the contracting team, and then for the elements that have to be reconstructed. So, for example, with this one, the porch will need to be reconstructed. They will have to again match that as they go through that process of rebuilding it. So we have additional details related to the pergola, as well as to the columns that are the porch. So the roof elements on this home will all move with the building, but obviously the porch will have to be reconstructed. So these details are all called out here, so they have that information. A lot of the ancillary mechanical homes will also be removed. Again, cleaning them up, and you can see here the mechanical. And then some of the doors that have been added, for example, security doors or non-original doors will be replaced, or the security doors will be moved as noted. But if on this particular home, this is the window and door on that east elevation. So this would be the elevation facing the second. That opening there is clearly was added. So that doorway, that door will go, and that sill will be restored in, the window replaced with matching set. So that will be, I think that was the more original conditions. So I think with that, I would be happy to take any questions you may have about the materials that you have.
Okay, let's just go through. Thank you, Noel. Who would like to start with questions? Ricky, do you
I'll
have?
start.
You go ahead, Savannah. Thank you.
And just the only one that comes to mind is looking, I think, the formerly south elevation. There is a door there, and are you restoring that door?
Looking for that here. So this door here that will be on the roof, yes.
Okay.
That will be sanded and painted, and we have that. That's
Okay. Because in the elevation, it looked like it was just like a half light door. I didn't see that 3 light detail. That one.
That
sorry.
door is, yeah, that door is
Oh,
actually
okay.
this door. There's another door on the what will be on the rear door. That's
The new south of elevation. Okay, so what is that door right now? Is it just like that? That's the same configuration?
so. Let me check. I have a photo of that one. Of course, I don't have that. That's the one photo I don't have. That should be consistent with the one that's there. I was looking to see
Okay.
on architect who prepared my plans.
Yeah, that's
There it
no,
is.
that's correct. That's
Yes.
it's
Okay,
just a
good.
half light side door.
Okay. No, I mean that's it for me. I appreciate the seeing it once before and seeing all the detail now. So thank you.
Great. Andrew.
Is there any plan for the stone that's making up the foundation right now for that to be reused on site in some way?
Yes, correct. That will be the plan. When they go to move the home, they're going to be taking the stone that's salvageable and taking that and then reapplying it to the foundation. So if you look at the detail here, that actual number 2 call out is the stone. They call it veneer because it's not structural, but they'll be instructed to be constructing that back into that foundation, so that you won't be looking at the block element that's the foundation. You'll be looking at, you'll see the stone will be visible. And to that as well, one of the things that, and Chuck's had a fun time with this, working with the team, is getting those elevations. So when you look at the homes, this elevation is designed to be this consistent with the position it's in today. So the house won't get any higher or lower, so that stone scale should be consistent with how it looks now.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, mine was just about the chimneys. So is the reason that they're not going to be functional because there's going to be changes to the inside that would make them non-functional, or is that just part of the process of moving? The inside part is going to also be taken out?
That's a good question, Ricky. I think the challenges until they get into the TI work, some of these may or may not be functional, since we haven't done exploratory work on the interior ones. So to the extent, and it will be up to the owner when they do the TI work, to the extent that they want to maintain those as functional. So the specs for the mover will relate to reconstructing the internalized ones. For example, on this one, there's a kind of a mid-roof chimney there. That portion will be reconstructed. What occurs on the interior is going to be up to ownership, and it's also going to depend a little bit on the moving itself. If that element has some significant weight, it would be a hazard to move. So it depends also on how it's integrated into the structure.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had, Terry.
Okay, thank you. So my questions were covered as well. So are we ready to go forward with a motion? Is there anything we need to call out that West University didn't?
I'm not seeing anything that stands out that we need to add to a motion, so I think the motion would just be to approve as submitted, if everyone else is good.
Okay, is everyone
I'm
good?
good with that. Yeah.
Savannah, you are too?
I'm
Okay.
good. Sorry, I couldn't find my mute. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, Andrew, you want to go ahead and make that motion?
Sure. On the matter of SD 0424000037 at 548 East First Street, I move that we approve the plans as submitted.
This is Ricky. I'll second.
Great. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Ricky?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It passes 4-0. All righty. So now our next case is 3B SD 0723-00076, 926 to 930 North 2nd Avenue. This is to relocate houses from 812, 814, 818 East Speedway and 1036 North Euclid to 926 to 930 North 2nd Avenue, and demolition of rear addition at 930 North 2nd Avenue. This is a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Now, a question for Jody. This was the one when we were talking about the demolition of those other properties related to this. The reason we didn't explain the reason again why we didn't have 930 North 2nd, that rear addition there as part of those demolition, and why it's a full review, and maybe give some other background before we hear the presentation on this.
I think I understand your question. So in their previous location, these properties at Euclid and Speedway, there were rear detached houses that went through that they requested to demolish. They were non-contributing to the district and showed up as non-contributing to the district. Per the UDC, section 5.8.10. B, I believe, because I'm really getting quite good at memorizing these. When they are considered intrusions or non-contributing, the text reads to notify the chair of the advisory board and the plans review subcommittee to ensure that they are properly categorized as non-contributing. And if there's concurrence on that, then there's no further review and they can be demolished. So the email was sent out to you and to Rick McDonald, that I always want to call O'Donnell, Rick McDonald, who is the chair of West University, and there was concurrence that these were properly classified. The addition at this property, 930 North Second Avenue, has a little bit of history. So several years ago, before any of this was envisioned, there was a plan to the addition for 930 extended all the way back, pretty much almost to the rear property line. And Joel, before he was on the commission, came forward and requested to demolish all of that, actually. At the time, PRS approved demolition of a portion of it, but not all of it, because there was, I think, not the full amount of information available. So Roger before did research on that remaining portion of the addition and found out that it was actually constructed outside of the period of significance. And it's attached to a contributing resource. So the reason you're reviewing 930 today, and it's not just a demolition like the other ones is because the back side of 930 is impacted and they're gonna have to do work to that. But they also have documentation on that Noel will probably go over on why that portion is in fact a later build and outside of the period of significance of the district. The period of significance for West University ends at 1930. So it's a pretty short period of significance. So because it's attached, because there was some question about it before, because they have to do repair work on the backside of 930, that's why that portion is coming through for review, and it's not being treated like the other detached rear buildings at Euclid and Speedway. Is that what you were asking? Did I answer that?
Yeah, that was fine in case anyone wondered. And then do you, what was West University's take on this particular item, 3B?
So, on this particular item, they decided to move everything, even though it's kind of jumbled up because it's a draft in the one that I sent to you. They made motions for everything separately, including a parking issue. So a property owner who lives north of this property wrote a letter. He wishes that he could be here. He is otherwise occupied. His concern was that the 4 parking spots that are on the north side of the property have the potential to back up into his house. His house is really close to it's 2 feet off the property line, so it comes all the way back to the alley. So he was present at the West University meeting. He discussed his concerns with West University. I told him that I would bring up his concerns here. And they came up with a potential solution to those, particularly those 4 parking spots. That essentially kind of removes 1 and reorients 2 parking spots. Would you like me to go through each of the, because it's one item, because it's on 1 parcel, would you like me to go through each of the motions for each of the properties and the parking?
Well, I think it sort of depends on, is there any way that some can be grouped, or do you suggest that the best way is to take them separately?
I mean, it's your prerogative, you can do it together, we can do it separately, I can read them all now, and then if you need me to repeat them, I can repeat them when you get to the item.
It seemed like Woozap didn't have a lot of issues, like outside of the parking issue. In one building, they wanted more documentation on the stonework.
Correct.
And that could probably just be handled as one thing unless we get into it and decide we need to separate it, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the one that they wanted, the stonework on was the, chimney, and that was 818 East Speedway. They motioned to approve as presented with the request more detail be added to the drawing to reflect that chimney will be restored to the original external appearance. They're concerned the chimney actually kind of has this nice gentle slope as it goes down. So they wanted to make sure that that is recreated. And then the other one that they had for it was a pretty heated discussion as it comes to the parking. Where the heck is that? Ultimately, they made a motion that the ADA parking currently shown on Jacobus be moved to take the 2 north parking spots furthest from Jacobus, and that the remaining 2 northern parking spots be turned 90 degrees to be entered from Jacobus. The ADA space that was on Jacobus could then be made into 2 parking spaces for a total of 6 parking spaces on the southeast corner of the property, and the 2 parking spaces on the northeast corner of the property. All but the ADA spot would then be entered from Jacobus, which has adequate width for the turning 90 degrees. And this passed with a discussion and motion of 5-1. The one person who did not go with that motion vehemently believes that all parking should be on the site and does not want to see an IPP or anything that puts parking on the street. So he was opposed to it.
Okay,
Like,
well,
we're
that's-
allowed to recommend that the parking be on the street, but like realistically, is that something the director would have to say if it's outside of the property line?
Say that again, Ricky, please.
So, I mean, like, we usually are looking at just what is in the property line. And if they're recommending the parking that's on the street and not technically on the property, is that like out of our purview, or are we just making that recommendation that they change that?
That would be, so if they had to have parking on the street, they would have to go through an entirely separate process, which is the IPP. It's the Lauren Independent Parking Plan. Did I get that correct, Lauren?
Individual.
Individual, thank you. Lauren Seamus is the project manager. She's our project manager within PDSD. That's why I was asking her, but thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so they would have to go through an entirely different process to get parking out on the street.
but that was just the nay vote, right?
That was the nay vote. He
Okay.
didn't want to see, and to be clear, the applicant, when it came to rearranging the parking spots, there's still some issues that they have to look at. Because it involves an ADA access, whether or not the grade will permit it, and whether or not it'll fully work out. So they haven't said, yay, we'll do it. They said, we will investigate it.
Okay. All right, so are we ready for the presentation?
All right. With that, I guess, let me maybe start with with the permission, start with, maybe start with the houses, and then we'll save the parking and the demo piece for last. I think the houses is the easier part, if that's okay with you. I start with 812.
You can choose your vehicle.
It should be working. There you go. Hold on. Computer's me. It is definitely. There we go. All right. So for 812, 814, 818, and 1036, the packets are all very similar. Again, as with the prior house, there's two sets of materials. One's kind of the supplemental information, and then the plans. So all of these homes here will be going to what's identified here as new site 1, which is the 930, 929, 928 site. It has a couple of different addresses. And that will, is home currently to the home we were talking about, which is on the northwest quadrant of the site. The demo part, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is kind of on the tail end here, which is where 812 is proposed to go, which is this home. So some of the things that we've added into the package since last time we talked was landscape plan. This is because it's more than one house, it's treated like a commercial development. So we have a plan of development, development plan that includes not only landscaping, but also civil engineering and ADA access, internal circulation, etc. So the site planning process for this one's a little bit more substantive. The other things that we've added were some questions regarding, notes regarding the parking areas, which we're talking about here. I'll go into a little bit more later. But the parking stalls that are provided, those will all be, asphaltic service. They will have curbing. Again, you can see the pathways that get you through the site, the ADA access, etc. We also addressed refuge collection areas, some other technical comments the city team had. One of the other items that's new to this plan as well is this detail regarding retaining wall. There's a retaining wall that runs along 2nd Avenue. It's a concrete surfaced wall, but we did have the detail there for that because a portion of that, which isn't really in great condition today, that'll actually be coming out because as the homes come up, and if you can see my cursor, the homes will come up. This portion of the site, 812 goes first, and then 818, 814, and then 1036 up front. And then the front of that lot that wall can be put back after all those moves occur. The other thing that was asked of us for this site, because they're all collectively together, was looking at how those elevations all interplayed. So this is a section view from each one of the sides. This shows how the different homes will sit on the site and relate to each other. You can see the existing structure. There's a small structure along Jacobus, as well as the existing homes there, over 218 fit. And then this would be the view from the south. Those are all the homes would be. And then the view of 2nd Avenue, which again has the existing home, and then the 1036 home there, and then the retaining wall there. So gives a better idea of how these all kind of interplay. And then each one of these and each packet's different, obviously for each home, but we have the floor plan detail, the key map, so you can see which one we're talking about. Again, identifying the mechanical. In this one, primarily, again, updating the window schedule. With this one, what was a little interesting is all the windows are wood, except for the very rear. There's some casement steel windows. Photos of those for the couple windows in the back where at some point they did some sort of addition, like we had padding enclosures of that nature. But because we don't have any real information on what that prior condition was, we went with the rehabilitate paint, the finish on those as the plan. So you can start to see in the elevation, here's those two windows, question there on the rear. And then as you can see the other one that's on the south elevation. So that's where those steel casements are. The rest are wood. You can see the little details, etc. This one has an original door to it, so that will be cleaned up and rehabilitated. The materials schedule, again, similar to what we talked about with all the additional notes from the contractor and the inclusion of the foundation detail. For this home, it's all basically stuck over the ground, so there's really no additional stone work or anything of that nature. As we get into the site photos and some of the additional notes, one of the big concerns we heard with 812 was this porch. The porch here has this really cool detailing with the trusses, and as we were looking at those, the original plan that Uber had was, because there's was, or somewhat long, was to just take it off and we'll put it back. And as we started evaluating that, you start running into some questions about, when you reconstruct something of this nature, modern building code, how do you maybe sister these, et cetera. So in lieu of that, we went back to the mover and said, hey, is there, what would it take to move this with the house? He took another look at it, and with some structural supports, he can actually move this with the home, so we no longer have to take it down. So that, I think, made life a lot easier for everybody, because now I don't have to worry about that element. Now, we do have the porch to reconstruct, so you see all the details here related to that. Again, it's all concrete. So we had notes regarding that. Also, to the rear of the home, there's a little kind of lean-to thing that'll be removed as part of this. That doesn't show any of the old areas and maps, so we're going to take that off. The other thing we added, again, just that porch detail. We did document all of that. So if there's any issues with it, needs any repair work, etc., we do have that detailed. But again, I think we're pretty confident that's going to move just fine. So I think that was one of the big ones. The other thing was notes on the chimneys, etc. So you can see, for example, here it's an exposed brick, not a stucco finish. Those notes and colors, etc. So that was pretty much the big thing on that one. Be happy to answer any questions. The one other thing I did want to call out was these. You'll see the little vents in here, because there are. With this type of foundation structure, you do have to have venting under modern codes. We'll have to add some small vents to the foundation. So just want to make sure those show those.
Okay, who would like to start with questions?
I don't have any questions. This is Ricky.
Okay, Savannah.
I don't either. Thank you.
Okay, Andrew.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I think we should proceed and see if we can move toward one motion, but we can decide sort of at the end, right? So if we move on to 814, that would be good.
All right, I will go on to 814 now. Again, similar package, so this should all look pretty familiar. Same information from the other ones. That'll be repeated in each package so that the contractor has it. So for 814, again, updated the schedule, the mechanical, etc. More detailing on the window repair, which again, these were all in pretty good condition, wood frame. So this will all be sanded and painted. This one does have the fun stone to it. So that is going to also be detailed. So you see two details because there are some portions that don't have the tooth stone. So you look on the back and some of the portion here. So that's the detail 2 for kind of more standard detail. And then for detail 3 illustrates the condition for where the stone is. So to the question you had prior, that again would be salvaged on site and then applied to that foundation with enough space so that again it's uniform with the wall. And then we also added some notes regarding the preservation carry through the chimney. There's one kind of in the middle, and then you've got this kind of unique kind of pointy one that has been detailed as well. The windows and schedule were updated there. The vent openings that need to be in for code are also noted. As you look at this one, the other thing that was interesting was there's a small portion of this one in the back that we've identified for moving. It's this little addition element here that was clearly not original, so that metal roof and little storage space and this little element here will be removed, as is this little pop out addition that occurs on the east side, which was clearly not original. The stone patio will also be reconstructed, and we have that one has a detail. I think the detail is actually another package, but there's a detail for how that's reconstructed with again the stone. And with this one, which doesn't move the house, and the existing door underneath, it's a little hard to see here, but you kind of see the 8-light door. It's behind this Home Depot screen door. The screen door goes. We're going to go back to that door. We're also going to remove some of the security of metal that was added to a couple of the windows in the back. And I think that was about it on that be happy to take any questions you have.
Okay, let's go around with questions again. Who would like to start?
This is Ricky. I have no question.
Thank you, Andrew.
The addition on the back, that's just like a water heater enclosure or something. It's not a basement access. And do any of these have basements?
I believe the only basement we have is on a retained home. I think it was 1030, I think. One that stays on site. I think all of these are basementless, but they are
It's a raised, it's a
raised
stem wall.
stem wall foundation, so but nothing with a formal basement.
Okay, thanks. And then I think the only thing I would add, and this will probably be to all of them, is the foundation vents that you're adding to these. Maybe those just come back for a minor review at some point.
Aren't those existing that you're just making sure to put back?
Oh, I thought you were adding them. Are you guys adding them or adding any?
With Brad, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, I believe these would be new, because I think that's a new code requirement versus when these were constructed.
Correct. Yeah, we have to provide crawl space ventilation that's prescribed in the code.
So
So there are
these,
none that exist currently?
Not that would meet current code.
Are you just widening ones that are already there, or you're putting new holes in?
so
We're putting new holes in based on the distribution that's required by the current code.
Do you have a picture of the ones that are existing?
see in this set of photos. And Brad, for
I don't know that a lot of them actually have
yeah,
crawl space venting currently, aside from just the on a few of them the access points, but a lot of the access points are from inside the house.
yeah. Likely wouldn't have been required in that period. The actual amount one be a function of square footage.
Can I jump in a minute?
Oh, Roger.
I think on 818 on the wall that we're looking at, I think there is a random existing opening about middle, because I stuck my head in it. But I don't think there's anything that meets code, but there may be some existing openings in that base basalt level, but I can't pull up a picture to share with you at the moment. But it does have a little gap with a screen that's probably been there since the 20s, but it doesn't locate anywhere that's logical. But I think, existing potentially, but not in a logical location.
And Brad, as far as screening for those, typically would they treat that? I mean, what dimensionally, what size is this roughly?
The vents are typically 8 by 16 because so they can coordinate with masonry foundation, and then there's a prescribed mesh that's required at those openings.
That'd be a code requirement with any stem wall foundation like this.
Correct.
Is there like a wood frame at the opening, or is it something else?
There would have been a ephemeral wood frame and chicken wire screen kind of thing that probably is not anything salvageable. It's just kind of a way to cram some thing in there. When it was actually done, hard to tell. I bet it wasn't done in 1920s. It's just kind of a access to the crawl space big enough to put your hand in for the camera. or cats to get in.
So Brad, I think and Roger, the way to look at these then would basically be it's like a missing brick in the standard stem wall, and then we're gonna have the stone applique, the stone on the exterior. So this would just be a void, or will we put in some sort of to your point, Brad, with some sort of a screen on the interior side of that?
I would say that a screened opening in the base foundation wall is pretty common in all these kind of houses. Yeah, historically it was pretty common.
I think to Andrew's point, though, we just need to review what's proposed. And he was suggesting a minor review, or somehow we capture what you're proposing in this review, right?
Yeah, I think we were within our purview to suggest a minor review. That isn't gonna hold anything up necessarily, correct, Jody?
If we had to do a minor review on the foundation, is there any time we should spring that back a little bit?
It depends on when they bring it back. For that.
We can do that after. Once we get it built. I mean, trying to think of how timing wise it would work, because it'd really be, I guess the question would be is if you all be interested in the final detail of that, as far as, because placement's more of a building code issue and they have to be certain spots. So it really comes down to kind of how we detail it. So
Yeah.
that's something we get to kind of towards the end, and once we have foundation built. So okay, here's simple like here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I have no objection to bringing it back for you all to look at this.
Okay. All right, so folks, any other comments on 814, or can we move on to 818?
No comment from me.
Okay, ready? Okay. All right.
18 then. So again, same couple of pages there. With 818, there is a original door element with a window that's going to be take it back to a window condition. And we've got again the notes and things on the table here. We show some photos here. So this is the one that has the chimney that Jody mentioned. As you can see here, actually get to that here in a second with the photos. You can kind of see the detail of that. So we'll be having our team detail that out as sort of a sub detail so that the contractor has that information. Again, with this same situation with the foundation details for those with the stone. The back component, again, similar to the other house, there was some sort of enclosure at some point in the past. But again, we don't really have a historical reference. So the plan here is to take all that wood and clean it up, repaint, refinish the windows, etc. And photo standpoint, there's that chimney, and it doesn't really. It's kind of hard to tell in this photo. It has a swooping element to it, which is what we're all discussing it with West University. So we'll get all that dimensioned out in a detail similar to these. So the contractor has that. For the porch reconstruction, again, we've got the column detail and then the porch wall, which the other home falls wall, which is basically it's an interior block porch wall that meets code, which then gets the stone that's taken from the site and gets reapplied to get back to the look that we have here today. And I think I've got that photo of the mystery door. So this one here, we have one door that is a, it's kind of hard to tell here, but it's behind the screen door, sort of a Home Depot contemporary door. That'll be replaced with one that matches up with what we think is a more period approach, which is on the other front door that's there, that will be rehabbed. And let's see here, we've got the notes, and there's one of those air conditioners that's going to go away. And here you kind of see the sweep here in this drawing. Actually gives you kind of an idea of what that sweep, the base looks like. So again, driving that detail as part of their recommendations. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Okay, so the detail would go on the plan somewhere?
Correct, we would add a, either, somewhere, either a new page or somewhere, makes sense, probably a new page. That would be similar to the foundation details that will capture, the depth, the width, and this kind of radii around this porch, so the contractor can then reconstruct accordingly. The construction method will be kind of interesting because they kind of have to take it apart to figure out how to rebuild it, so they will be doing a lot of photography as they're doing that, as they figure out how to rebuild this. The matching that is more the interior. Does it have a solid core, for example? Is that is it some sort of structure underneath, or is it all actually just stone? And then, of course, obviously, our friends in the structural department. So, depending on that, dimensionally from the exterior, it will all look like it does today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to suggest to commissioners that we could defer that, we could include that in the motion, but defer review of that to Jody, to her office, if we didn't want to see it again. Does that make sense? That's just an option I'm thinking about. So, okay. Go ahead. Did you have any other things on that, on this one?
There's no further questions. I'll get to 1036 then.
Oh, well, wait, let's see what, anyone else have questions on this one?
Yeah, this is Andrew. I have, I'm not really sure what's going on with the west elevation, formerly south elevation. It's all wood sided, but I don't really see that reflected in a foundation detail, and obviously that wood can't go all the way to grade. So I'm wondering what the detailing of that looks like.
Good question. Let's see the rear. Roger Banningham, do you happen to have a rear photo of this handy? Just looking to see, I thought we had a photo of the rear.
Not readily accessible, but
Let me see if I've got.
I can look. I think that the best thing to do would be to detail that such that the wood is cut, off 18 inches above grade, so we don't have a earth to ground, wood to ground termite issue, and just paint out the foundation to match the base stem wall. Is how that would be typically handled on a new construction site. And the historic interface of that lower, how that meets ground is probably hidden now by grass and whatever, but it would want to be correctly installed so it doesn't create a termite problem in the back, which would be the lower stem wall dimension could be detailed in there.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think I'm fine with that detailing if everyone else is. So essentially you'd have a stuccoed stem wall, for the height of the stem wall. So
A
below.
stuccoed stem wall or a painted concrete stem wall for the, 12 inches of grade in the rear elevation of the house. And that would be the logical way to deal with that because you can't take that wood to grade anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I think all the other stem wall is going to be stuccoed, I think, right? To
Yeah.
match existing. So I think if that gets stuccoed and just matches the stem wall all around, I think that's fine.
Okay.
The architect.
Okay. Who else? Anyone, comments or questions on 818 before we move forward? Ricky or Savannah?
No, I just think we should probably reiterate the West University's comment.
Right, about the chimney restoration.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
also that stem wall.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
think
kind of feel like this one probably should have its own motion because of the wood paneling and the extra things we want added to the plan.
Okay, we can do that. Let's see what we think about 1036. We may want to do, who knows what, because we've still got a little bit more on this to hear, right? But we'll do a separate motion for 818. I'll make a note, but we don't need to do it now. We'll do them at the end.
Then, are you ready for 1036 then?
I think so.
Great. All right. Again, this will all start looking very familiar. Same set of plans here. For this one, again, more detailing the window detail and the mechanical, and there's an existing door condition here. I'll show you a photo of that will clean up here. There we go. Let's see, with this one, one of the items on this one, when we originally talked, the mover thought because of the length that he may have to trim some of the roof off of this one, which obviously raised some questions. As part of our going back to him and trying to figure out how best to make these things work, once he did some additional measurements, didn't see the need for that. So that is off the table, which is great. And you can see with this one, we have a lot of little chimney details that have been added because this one does have some substantive chimney mounts. And again, the foundation detail. This one also has a detail for the columns. So that front porch comes off, the roofing element stays, but the cast in place columns will be moved, and the constructed block columns will be reconstructed consistent with the plans. So you can see some of those in the imagery here. So the one that's square is just a block on-site built column. The circular one relocated. The other thing, just to note on this one is this this little back door here that's on the east elevation. It really, this one made the determination was an ad based on where it's sitting in the house, and so the plan on that would be to remove the door, remove this porch element, and then there's a third window that likely would have been here. So the idea would be is to put that window back and bring that bit of detail under the window back. So that should be closer to what was originally that condition. And I think that was about it. And then that's what that visual looks like on that east elevation right there. So it becomes a 3-window condition, more symmetrical than originally on the house. With that, I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Who has questions on this one?
Yeah, the last picture that you showed of that back area, you said that porch, is that connected to the house? So are you gonna have to do like a, yeah.
No, it's just a little like concrete set of steps and a little block wall that is kind of just built up next to the house, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, Andrew or Savannah?
Yeah, back on A3.01, yeah, the foundation detail 2, that looks like it's pretty much the same detail on most of these houses. It looks like a purlin anchor or some sort of like tension rod up at the top that's connected to the floor joist and has anchor plate on the outside. It's not called out, but how do you plan to finish that on the outside? Is that going to be hidden?
Brad, how does that little guy work there? I think we're talking about this little anchor here.
Actually, Noel, this is Joe. I can answer that.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, so that's it's a 1/4-inch piece of steel, and the through rod comes through and it's welded flush with the 1/4-inch piece of steel. So we're also talking about, not talking about, but while the detail doesn't show it, is embedding it and stuck on over the top of it would be one option. But there are several homes in the that have been moved with the same tension strap that's put in. And so it would be painted to match, of course, but it's a 1/4 inch thick, welded flush with the actual plate itself.
Okay, I think I would like to see that, you know, set flush and stuccoed over so it goes away, unless anyone else has comments on it. But I mean, I don't know how frequently they occur, maybe every 30 inches or so, but that may be a prominent like change to the exterior of the house if there's a lot of them.
Yep, it's every 48 inches. So yeah, while the detail doesn't show that, it gives us the option to embed that and then flush and then obviously then paint it. So
it would be exposed painted steel, or it would be stuccoed over?
it'd be stuccoed over. When I meant we can recess it in and then stucco over it and then paint it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, others on this one, Ricky or Savannah?
Well, just on that question about that foundation, is that both directions? All 4 sides?
No, I'm assuming that's going to occur on each one of the walls.
So the tension strap goes underneath into the crawl space area. So that's the inside of the crawl space, and it protrudes out to the exterior wall. So we would be recessing the plate on the exterior wall side, stuccoing over it and painting it.
Right. So that condition will appear on all 4 walls, though, because it's going to have that.
Yes.
Okay.
On every place that it protrudes. Yes.
Okay, anything else, Savannah? Savannah?
No.
Okay, Ricky?
I'm curious about those columns in the front. So were those like the 2 sets of columns added at separate times just for structural stability of that front porch? It just looks kind of weird that they're both there and so large.
I've seen it before. It's not that often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was just the design
Yeah.
feature
Okay.
they went with.
What's that detail that's hanging from between each of the columns? Is that?
Any idea, Roger?
Yeah.
No, it could become some kind of, I think it's a drip line from the internal, whatever,
Wow.
internal drainage or something.
So the,
I don't remember.
Are you intending to keep that? I don't think that's on the plans.
No, it doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think we can remove those unless there's any objection.
I'm pretty sure
No.
that is an original detail of those paired columns. It's weird, but
PVC wasn't 1920s material, Roger?
no, PVC is not, but the square and the round column are an anomaly that, you know, appears occasionally, but it is kind of odd.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, thank you.
So on this one, Andrew, it's up to you if you want to make a separate motion when we're ready for motions about 1036 with that.
I think that comment is going to be common to all of these, so I think this can still get grouped with everything else, and that can just be a condition on all of them.
Okay, for 812, 814, yeah, well, because those 2 we thought we could group together, 812 and 814, so then we could maybe group that. We'll figure that out. Okay, so then the last thing would be the demolition of the rear addition at 9:30, right? We should probably hear that, because if we have questions or issues with it, then, I mean, sort of the relocation is dependent on the demolition, right? Because you need that space.
Yes.
Okay, so if you, are we ready to move on to that demolition then?
also, don't forget to address the parking issue.
Oh, and the parking is where again? Tell me.
It's on the north east corner.
Yeah, and happy to walk you through that after the 9:30, if that's okay with you.
Okay, go ahead.
They didn't tie that to any specific thing, right? They just made it as a loose motion in the general, under the general point.
Yes. I mean, it's tied to the parcel.
Yeah.
It's about the parcel. But
Okay.
yeah, they didn't tie it to like one of the addresses per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Alex went we're amenable to that, so it's working on this solution there. So on that 9:30, that's my sample. Okay, we'll start with this. So the this portion of the building in the demo plan, as you can see, is granted. It does actually, interesting enough, when you're looking at it from the west, does kind of pop out from the existing structure, and then it's kind of bolted onto the back. So we look at it in plan. A little peekaboo view here, and then it kind of comes out like this and does that. So that's the portion of the existing structure. When that is removed, that exposes this portion of the elevation. One of the questions we had was, well, what was going on there before this addition was put on the house? And so we did a little exploratory work. And discovered a window header that basically matched up dimensionally with the window that's on the opposite wall. So this is that wall that's tore up. This is the wall on the exterior. So based on that information, the design direction was to reintroduce those three windows with a like-for-like type of window, and then obviously stucco to match the facade when that came off. So that would be the rehabilitation of that eastern wall. To Jody's point about the kind of the history, as we had Roger look at it a little bit more, you can see the original 1922 Sanborn maps, and in 1930, again the same lot condition. So our little friend there doesn't show up. And so you see they enclose kind of the back portion, and then this portion says Adobe is that piece we're talking about with this kind of L hook on the back, and that shows up in 1947. So that we're pretty confident that that element was a later add-on, and it does unfortunately need to come off in order to make room for 812, because that's where that one sits in order to make the distances. So with that, we have to answer your questions on the demo request.
Okay, any questions on that? Ricky?
Yeah, so this main building doesn't have any Adobe in it at all. It's just an Adobe addition that they put onto it.
Correct. Yes.
That's interesting. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Savannah?
No, do you guys, does Jody remember, did we have any comments the last time we reviewed this? Because it looks so similar. I don't know if we.
I don't recall that you had. I mean, this was part of the courtesy review too. I don't recall that you had any.
All my notes reflected, and I may be commingling West University as well, but it was really about kind of what was there, was kind of the task we were given.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, and these are basically like little mini apartments somebody had added at some point. So a couple little suite units that open to the south.
Okay, Andrew?
On the east elevation, I'm not really clear what the parapet detail is there. Are you waiting until you can tear off the addition to see what may be there, or do you have is that how it's going to appear?
Believe exterior. Actually, maybe Brad, on this elevation here, was there that detailing that's on the top? Does that reflect what we saw? Or is there anything up?
Yeah, that's
I think that's the existing condition because that ornamental parapet is a facade detail. And this little back wall, from my recollection, did not have any articulation whatsoever. And this is what showed is correct.
Okay, I was just looking at the street view and it's hard to tell because the light is really harsh. But it looked like there was some sort of continuation of that offset parapet cap.
These are all interior, and we're focused on the interior. Yeah, that's all interior.
Because Joel did some work, Joel.
Yeah, it was on the, that's what I'm looking for. I've got all these interior shots, that exterior. I was just looking for, it might be the other, the original packet.
Sorry, he's mumbling to himself.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like, honey, through 5-year-long project, there's lots of folders in here, I'm sorry. Let's see, I've got, actually, I think that one, I think an original packet for that, I think that's photos. That's in there.
And I looked up, Savannah, to your question, I looked up the minutes from when they did their courtesy review, and there wasn't any comments on the demolition, it looks like.
Okay, well, I'm looking at that Sanborn map again, and it's not a flush east elevation, so what, is there not a portion that juts out that's,
Was a porch, and then the
It was
porch
a
got
porch.
enclosed, and then it became flush.
so we are chopping off the original porch?
Here, you got photos.
No, there was a porch at the south side. So when you,
Um,
Oh.
as I recall,
yeah, so there's two things, so to the Sanborn, which was here, the original house had like a kind of a little bit of an L on the end. And then when they did some sort of addition there to square, it's in that yellow element that's right there. And then so the line, the rear line that's exposed today is the back of that. So we're just gonna go straight across, which would have been the original back of it. And then the view of it, so that's the original, this is the porch addition. So I think to the question, I think there's a little bit of a detail right there that doesn't show up in the drawing. Brad, you see that little guy right there? So we would carry that across. I don't think that showed up in the drawing, because in the drawing, we've got it, it's flat. So I think that needs a little bit of a line detail right there.
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, if we can just add that layer of detail back to it, just so we make sure it stays. To Savannah's question though, it does look like, yeah, that back L was original, and if you can go back to the Sanborn map, it looks like there's that one window. Yeah, the very left-hand side of that picture, or I guess of the portion that you're demolishing.
Oh, here.
Yeah, it looks like there is an opening indicated on the Sanborn map there.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
so
So there was a notch in the building at one point. But I think
Yeah,
what you're looking at the photo today is that window we were just looking at is like right here.
can you zoom into that?
Oh, hold on,
now you're just drawing.
things I'm trying to draw, hold on a second. There you go. These days will be good at this. Okay.
So yeah, so I actually misspoke when I said porch, because it looks like they built that notch in with an addition. So that actually is gonna remain.
Yeah, we're leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not looking at demoing that L off, we're looking at actually at keeping that former addition that squared the back end of the building off.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, so all of this is what we were talking about.
But you won't have an L there because the L was already enclosed.
Yeah, it's this guy.
Got it. Okay.
There, cool, that worked.
Yeah, that makes sense. It looks like that from the aerial too, because that parapet continues back into the roof.
Mhm.
So yeah, all right, I got it.
So yeah,
Just-
we have that detailing there, that's no problem.
One more thing too on that edge, there is are those scupper details that I saw in the photo that aren't on the elevation that I
Let's see.
just some,
These guys.
it's like a turned block with like 3 voids in it, kind of marching down the.
This element here. Yeah. Oops.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Brad, we need to make sure we pick that up in the plan as well. Yeah, easy. And, whether,
Okay. All right, so are we still commenting, Noel?
I don't have
good.
anything.
I think I'm good now. Thanks, Terry.
Okay, Ricky, did you have anything else or are we good?
I'm good.
Okay, so now we've discussed the demolition and now let's hear about the parking. That's our last thing that we still have to hear about, right?
Yes, ma'am. So what we have, so the parking question, gentleman owns the home that's to our north here. It's, there is his concern related to, so the existing alleyway is an 18-foot wide alleyway, and we have the 4 stalls that are here in the corner. When we heard the concern, Chuck with our civil engineering firm, did deepen these stalls. So currently, an 18-foot deep stall was the minimum. We were able to actually push those south a little bit, so it's actually a 20-foot deep stall. For his drawing, it shows the 18 feet, and then the back end of that gets you up to 20 to the edge of the alley. And then there's an additional 2 feet from the alleyway to the home. There's also some existing power poles that are on that north side of the alley as well. And the gentleman's concern related to folks ingressing and egressing from the stalls and possibly hitting his home. In talking with Western University, one of the members had a thought about reorientating the parking stalls. So I'll go back to this one first. So in this plan, we had the 4 stalls here, and we had our accessible stall here on the south portion of the Jacobus. And so we had our civil engineer take a look at that, and basically the idea would be, the recommendation was, is there a way we could take that accessible stall, move it up here, and then turn these 2 stalls to back onto Jacobus? At first blush, we think that's possible. The grades look like they may work. As we told them, we're more than happy to make the accommodation. The main concerns are is one is we can't lose any parking, which would then put us into some discretionary approvals regarding reductions, which we can't do. But also subject to any the city's engineering standards. So I believe the recommendation includes some language regarding subject to approval of the city transportation planning departments, because sometimes it looks like it works, but then you get in the engineering, and especially with ADA access, the slopes are very, very critical. Like I said, I think at first blush, I think we're good. But just in case for some reason that can't be achieved, maybe that ADA space goes back, they have 2 spaces going north or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're definitely willing to look at it. We understand the concern, happy to accommodate it within those bounds, which obviously I can't commit to something I don't have staff approval for. So as long as it's subject to their approval, we're more than happy to carry on.
And what about the bollards?
Yeah, the other item was for along this area here. There's as I mentioned, there's a 2-foot wide space here between the home and the alley. And we had suggested, obviously, if the property owner is willing to allow us to install them on that piece, putting in some bollards along that edge to again avoid that condition. So if we have to keep the 4 stalls there for whatever reason, we're more than happy to put the bollards in place if that would help alleviate some of the concerns as well. Bollards are used to protect all sorts of etc. So again, happy to take it intact. But that was one of the concerns they have, is having us, try to dig into that more and see if we can make that change. And we're happy to do so, subject to the approval of city staff.
But no, okay, so these changes would happen within the existing footprint that you have outlined for parking, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the only, wouldn't be a substantive change to the site plan other than changing the striping plan. We would have to add that ADA ramp to this location here. So that would be
Instead of where you have it before.
correct. So down here, it would be up here.
Okay. But that wouldn't affect, it would affect the site plan a little, but not the placement of the houses or anything.
Correct, yes. So we'll leave all the homes exactly as is. It would just a change in striping plan and that move of the ramp.
Okay. All right, commissioners, any questions on the parking discussion? Ricky?
No, I don't. I mean, I understand why he's worried about his house. How many bollards would you put in if he's allowing you to do that?
I figure you'd like to typically have one mid space, so there probably there's a existing utilities here, so we probably be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. Try to space them about 8 to 10 feet apart, depending on what's in the ground. And so that way, if somebody was backing out of here, they would bump into that. One of the things, so I always try to remind people of is this would be a fairly urban condition, so the speeds would be fairly slow. I mean, you're not trying to pull out of that space super quickly. So the bollards would be definitely there to remind somebody that they've gone a little far, but typically in these conditions, while tight, folks throughout the neighborhoods here encounter these kind of conditions all the time. So hopefully the bollards would be more decorative than anything else, but just in case, they would be there to offer that extra protection.
Okay. 20 feet just seems like it would be wide enough for people to pull out and not cause an issue. But I'm also not aware of this. I did have a question. So there's a couple on here. It says EV ready or EV capable. Are you guys intending to install like charging stations in here?
That's a good question. So consistent with city code, we would have the EV capable EV ready stalls that are required by code would be installed site plan approval. So those would be required. And as to the turn radius, the 18-foot is acceptable to the city, so it does meet the standard. We did add the additional 2 feet by pushing that in to make a little bit more room when we heard the concerns.
Residential EVs are a lot smaller. The stand is not the big Tesla one that you see.
Oh yes, yeah.
They're usually just a post
Yeah.
and a thing. It's not. Mine is a plug it's literally a plug that I have.
Okay.
Okay, Savannah or Andrew?
Well, I think the plan that's currently showing, seems like you made a nice effort to accommodate with the bollards and the extra 2 feet, so. That seems like it works, but if the other is preferred, it seems like that works too. I don't have a opinion one way or another. Both seem fine.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, I agree with that. I appreciate the effort, and I get the neighbor's concern, definitely. So on parking, I think I'm okay. On the recycling and trash receptacle area, is that like a screen wall or something that you're proposing around that? I couldn't really tell.
Yeah. Chuck, I believe that's a screen wall, but just want to make sure I'm correct.
Yeah, that's a keynote 16 is having a screen. I think it's a like a wood fence or just something to screen the
And
containers.
those are the residential containers.
Those are the recycle containers, the 95-gallon.
Yeah, so they're not. I don't know how tall those are, but everybody has ones that size.
Okay, I think the fencing would be under our purview to review, at least as a minor review, but if it's grouped in with all of this.
How tall is the fencing?
I think if you go to keynote 16 on the left, it's
Yeah,
called out.
60-inch high screen. And then I got see building plans, so I have the detail on the actual material, but okay. To your question.
Because that's recycling, did you wanna point out the trash is down there, cause that was part of a discussion about moving one of the spots.
Oh, the refuse location here.
Yeah.
So the trash cans, those guys live right here on the south end, and that's just city standards. Those are I guess these are the alley cans, I guess.
Don't look at me.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
talk about the trash, please.
That's the existing location in the alley. So we were able to put in another 300-gallon container.
And that's the big one. That's like the city collective type.
Right.
Oh.
Dumpster, that's what.
Dumpster. Although it's more.
They're typical down, alleys in this neighborhood. So
Our landscape plans aren't part of this submittal, right? Is that a future submittal?
Actually, no, this does include landscape. Let's see.
It should be. It's actually
Yeah.
put it in there.
No, it's also, no, the updated one. I'm looking for, I think, the one section is probably easier to see here. There we go. See, that's why I put it here too. So there we go. And that would be the landscape and hardscape.
You wanna discuss that a little bit?
Does that need,
Oh.
sorry, has landscapes seen this, Jody?
it's been approved by the landscape reviewer in the development package.
Or I mean the
But not our committee.
yeah,
We
the
mean-
historic landscape.
Well, it's not a park, it's
small. I mean, but they do other stuff, but I think we're capable of, how different is this from existing landscape in the neighborhood? And we're not talking about a major thing. But
Okay,
that's,
yeah.
yeah.
I just wasn't sure, because I hadn't seen like a unit development like this come through yet, so I wasn't
no,
sure
it's
how
unusual.
we.
Yeah, it's unusual. But it's
Yeah.
sort of been made a development, you know what I mean? Because they're moving them all together.
And we are keeping the existing tree on the site. So that's
which is the existing tree?
so one on the right-hand side. It's really
Oh.
tall. It's right next to that
It's
small unit.
It's big.
Can you speak to the other, just so they're,
Sure. Fairly typical landscape plan, obviously. Street trees along the between the curb and the sidewalk. And that's about 10 feet deep, so that'll be, the sidewalk's gonna stay. The WPA stamp that's out there, we've actually called out specifically to be preserved, so to the extent that they have to put in the any ADA ramps or other improvements. Keep that element out there. And then we've got our palette. Let's see, what's our palette on this one? The landscaping palette here is basically acacia, mesquite, and then the use of some ground cover plants, milkweed, fairy duster, black dahlia. I think we're a little bit of variety there in the package. So it's not just, you know, 2 different types of plants. It's quite a few here. Good job. Barrel cactus, etc. And then the remainder would be that you know, the 2 inches of decomposed granite for dust control, and so kind of that hatched area is basically, you know, your granite areas, and then the vegetation, you know, around the edges of the homes, and then, you know, again, focus a lot towards the street side, where what's the most impacted.
Can you might have already addressed it. Can you describe what's happening with, it looks like there's a ramp and that like terraced retaining wall is being removed?
Yeah, so the existing retaining wall gets reconstructed, it's kind of following that line right there, it's like around the property line. And then we do have to add an accessibility ramp, so that's what this is here. So that will be, so that retaining wall detail will just follow along this, and then this would be the sidewalk to get you back up onto the property. The street, I don't know the distances, but it's got a little bit of grade there, heading up to the top of the site there.
Okay, the existing house has actually a pretty unique terraced retaining condition. So would you'd be keeping the northern portion of that, and then the portion that's south of the existing stair would be removed and reconstructed as something different?
Yeah, so the this portion that's right in here, that doesn't have to be disturbed as part of the project, so that would be retained as is. The disturbance occurs as we get to this point here south.
Would there be any way to make that ramp work, like more south on the site? Because it looks like midway on the site, that retaining wall transitions to just a simple straight wall. So I think it'd be nice if we could preserve that original terraced portion on either side of that stair.
So Chuck, with this design this way, is there any way to flip this so that it's more south, or is there something about the condition here that we need to be aware of?
With the grading and drainage, it'd be difficult to do that. We could try to take a look at it, but there's water draining in front of the 1036 to the north to go into a basin north of the sidewalk. And so there's not, if that moves south, then you'd have to have sidewalk in that area. 'Cause you'd have the 2 legs of the ramp and then the sidewalk to get back to the main sidewalk through the middle of the site. So
And I think
I think it'd be good to look at, and if it needs to be there from a grading perspective, you know, maybe there's a design to that where it can kind of play off of the split level of the existing retaining and match the character of it to some degree.
yeah, I think potentially it could move to the east to mimic that terrace. I think that could happen, but
Is this I haven't looked at the street view, and it's not on the plans, is it? Is it a rock wall? Is it a rubble wall?
Concrete.
Concrete.
Oh, okay.
But it's 2 levels, and the top level kind of fillets or curves back down into the sides of the stairs.
Let me pull up a street view for everybody so we can take a look here. Okay. There we go. So, okay, let's take a look at that last night. Here we go. Sure. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so that. Here we are. That would be tier retaining wall, then this is the flatter one. So that ramping condition would kind of be in this area. To the question, Chuck, when that ramp kind of comes back off, I kind of hard to picture in my head, but is there a way you can kind of play off that dimension as far as kind of keeping that, if this is still there, to say like yay, you know, that's kind of playing off that dimension of space example and kind of putting on the spot. I'm wondering if that's something that might be possible to kind of mimic. So when you're looking at it, you know, it kind of plays off that dimension, sort of kind of like, you know, kind of goes back in. And so then there's the cut, right, where you got the other one. Kind of, like drawing kind of sucks there, but you get the idea.
Yeah, we could, I think that's about 3 feet 4 inches. So I think there's room on the site to move that ramp back to the higher wall on the east.
It would be like,
And have the lower, you know, landscape area in front of it. So
yeah, so we could play around with some of these dimensions here to kind of play off that existing separation.
yeah, the whole ramp would have to move 3 feet 4 inches. So potentially that will work. Or we could do something that's not quite as, maybe not 3 feet 4 inches, but a little bit less to mimic the terrace. Everything's really tight on this site. So
Yeah, understood.
there's a water harvesting basin right there. We're using every bit of it. So
Yeah, I think if we can just, you know, to the best degree that you can preserve the character of that terrace retaining up front, with the understanding that you have to make it, you know, accessible. I think that would satisfy the issue.
yeah, I think there's some flexibility to move that east and have a similar terrace, but I don't know if we could move it all 3 feet 4 inches, you know, all the way to match the back wall.
Yeah. So I think Chuck, the intent I think would be, you know, try to mimic that as best we can, given those site constraints, but I get what Andrew's looking at.
I think so.
Okay, any other questions on basically on the site plan issues that Andrew raised? Okay, if not, what do you guys think of this? If we did a motion on, basically on the site plan and parking, what do you think of that? And then we can move into the other motions, you know, one on the demolition and so on. And then the houses. So, Andrew, would you be willing to make that motion? So would that just be like the parking and the terracing and so forth, and all the stuff you've just been talking about?
I can, these are all the same activity number except, yeah, they're all the same number. So I'm not sure. So when I read the motion, I guess I'm not sure how to craft like 4 different or 3 different motions.
Well, you don't have to do all of them. I mean, I think you could do this one because we're gonna vote on it separately. Or, and what do the rest of you think?
If
I feel
you,
like on the matter of and read the number and then say like for the site plan and the other
Parking
thing.
and parking.
Yeah.
so what Ricky is saying, that way you're narrowing it down just to one part. You're not approving everything. You're just calling out the site plan and the parking plan.
But for that, SD, item 3B, SD blah, blah, blah. And then, because really that 926 to 930 North Second is where everything's gonna be moved to, so that's why you'd be talking about the parking and other issues that you just had with the site plan.
Okay, yes. Sorry, I'm trying to
You had to get
collect
like
my
the
thoughts.
most complicated one.
Getting rain in the house.
And so I'm curious, so if we're not gonna see this again, would we want them to report back on their analysis of the parking and whether or not they could deal with the terracing to Jody before the plans went final? I mean, we couldn't, it seems like we would need,
Well, are they planning on going with that alternative parking plan, like regardless of what we say, because that's what the neighborhood wanted? Or are you guys waiting until you hear from the director as to what they think your final parking plan should be?
well, see, the vote was 4-1 by West University, so they're not forced to do that at all, right? The majority of the neighborhoods of WUZAP voted to accept the parking as it was.
No, West University was the one who actually came up with that alternative. It was one of their architects, Rachel Sarah, came up with the alternative.
Did that pass 4-1?
It passed 5-1.
Okay, so okay, I'm very confused then. So the majority of West University wants them to go with the different parking.
Yes.
Subject to city staff approval.
You know, I
They were
personally
okay.
think that we're meddling in stuff that we don't need to be meddling in, and if they've come up with a good solution for that house, you know, the neighboring house with the bollards and everything else, and I think we should leave it up to what the city says about it.
Do we have to weigh in on the parking? Like, do we even have to have a motion about the parking at all? Like, we don't have to do the same thing as WUZAP, right?
No,
Independent body.
yeah, remember when we had to do it in Fort Lowell and stuff? I mean, if we don't weigh in, it could bite us.
Okay.
What about something like the northeast parking area should be revised to the extent possible to limit any impacts to the neighbor at whatever that address is?
Yeah, the nearby home.
I think that
Yeah,
I like that. And then you know what you want to say about your terraced area. Can do this. I can see that grimace.
I'm trying.
I feel like we need elevator music playing
You can sing for it.
to break up the silence.
Oh no, what was that music? Jeopardy. Hey, are you guys getting rain out anywhere where you're at?
It's pouring over here.
Mm.
Speedway and Pantano.
Oh. Randy says he's getting rain at home too, so that's like Tanque Verde Grant area. It's pouring. Unfortunately, my car is still dirty, parked in a garage and not getting any rain.
It's still really hot out though. Like we opened the window and it's still 100 degrees. It's now just also muggy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not distract Andrew here. So are you ready, or do you want us to do one of these simpler ones first?
I've almost got,
Okay,
I mean, I can start to work on whatever the simple one is. It was the 812 and 814 that were the simple ones, right?
yeah, but Andrew said there was underlying things that we wanted to mention for all of them, so we better just focus on one thing and not get all, but we need to move on these.
Andrew's
Okay.
making all the motions today.
no.
Okay,
All right,
we can do that.
I'm ready on this one.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, on the matter of SD 0723000076 relating to site improvements only, we recommend approval of the plan as submitted with the following conditions. One, that the northeast parking area should be revised to the extent possible to limit risk of damage to the existing nearby home. Two, that the west side ramp should be revised to the extent possible to preserve a larger portion of the existing terraced retaining wall and should align with existing conditions as possible.
Okay, is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Andrew, can you forward that motion to
Yes.
staff? Thank you.
Okay, so that is, that's motion one, basically. So does anyone have any discussion on that, or are you good with it, everyone? Okay. All right, I'll call the roll then. Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
That one passed 4-0. Okay, so do we want a separate motion on the demolition?
Yeah.
Okay, and basically, what was that? Was that just we approved as submitted, or was there some additional things that we needed to do with that? Andrew, what was your comment on
Sorry, my comment on
the demolition when that's gone to Gary's
oh,
pit or
yeah,
something like that?
I think the only thing was that the east side elevation needs to be revised to reflect the correct detailing of the parapet, offset, and vents.
I have
so-
that.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to do that one, Ricky?
Yeah. So then I have to say it as the Second Avenue number, SD number, right?
Yes,
It falls under the second number, not the first one.
correct.
I mean, it's the demolition of the rear addition at 930 North Second. Yeah, so but read the case number.
Okay. On the matter of SC-0723-00076, regarding the demolition of the non-contributing addition to 929 North 2nd Avenue, motion to approve as presented with the following modifications. East side elevation revised to reflect the correct detailing of the parapet, offset, and vents.
Isn't it 930 instead of 929?
9:30.
Yeah, you had said 929. So
Correction,
930. Is that
930.
okay?
Yeah.
All right, so is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
say,
Okay. All right, any discussion of that? Okay, Terry says aye. Ricky?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Okay, so that one passes 4-0. Okay, so do you want to do, so I had that 818 was a separate motion.
Terry, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Was that one addressing the detailing of the parapet and the vent? Did I miss that?
He said detailing of the parapet, offset, and vents.
And vents.
Yeah. That's
I'm gonna
Thank
email
you.
it to Michael right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And so then we had, was 1036 North Euclid and 812 and 814. They could all be done together, and then 818 separately, or what were we thinking? Didn't 1036 have two things?
I-
just
Yeah,
from-
I
from my
think there
notes, I
were
have-
two then.
Yeah, I had the anchor bolts, were on 1036 and on 818, which we were gonna apply to all of them. And then 818 was the chimney, detailing the chimney. I had down as concerned.
Okay, so how do we want to, is this Savannah, you're a great organizer, would you do these? Giving everybody turns here.
I was taking a break on this one. I mean,
I'm cruel.
you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
I said I'm cruel, but go for it.
Wait, I don't understand. You said you were cool.
I'm cruel. I was being mean to you.
Cruel.
Oh. I'm like, I know you're cool. Sure. Okay, so I can do. Okay. I can do 818, where we're requesting the chimney base detailing. Is that right?
Yes, is there anything else that needs to go in that motion? Andrew or Ricky?
I thought Andrew had made a comment about the vents
Ye-
for the crawl space.
So, yeah, I think the crawl space vents and the anchor bolt thing will be common to all of these. The only one I had for this was the wood sided portion.
So, yeah,
It should have a stuccoed stem wall.
On 818?
Yes. I think so.
Okay, so the items that are common would still be noted in this motion because they
Yeah.
are relevant to 818.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. I can do this on the matter of SD-0723-00076 at 818 East Speedway. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. That the chimney base detailing that's existing be added to the plans to be recreated. For the crawl space vents to be addressed in a minor review. For the anchor bolts to be recessed and stuccoed over, and that the wood siding portion to have a stuccoed stem wall.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
This actually, I mean, you might wanna rephrase it, it's not 818 anymore, it's the property that's formerly located 818 that's being relocated to 926.
Okay.
I'm just clarifying, so there's, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can amend that to be the structure formerly at 818 to be relocated to 926 North
Correct.
Second Avenue. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so Andrew, you okay with that amendment?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion? Okay, if not, Terry will vote aye. Savannah,
Aye.
Ricky,
Aye.
Andrew.
Aye.
Okay, thanks. So then we need to do, we still have 812, 814, and 1036 to have motions on. Do we want to, can we group those, or do we need 1036 to be a separate motion? Or do we didn't already do that, did we, or did we? No.
we did that already.
No.
We did, we first did the site plan and parking.
And then the demolition of the non-contributing plan.
That was number 2, and then number 3 was just 818. Okay, so we still have those 3 properties. So who's gonna bite on those? With those common conditions still.
I can do it, but I guess just so that I don't have the same problem, 818, or sorry, 812 becomes what? What are the addresses that it,
926. They all become 926.
they all become 926. Oh, okay. Okay.
They're all going to that lot, yeah.
It's like Prince, the house formerly known as.
Okay, so 812, 814, and 1036 Euclid become 926 Second Avenue. And then it's just the crawl space fence coming back for minor review and then the anchor built recessing. Is that correct?
Which is the one with the wood siding at the back?
Isn't that 1036?
No.
10:30.
That's 814.
Oh. Oh. Maybe that one, does that one have to be its
I
own?
made that as 818. Was that?
There should be, hold on.
I have it as
That would be
8:18.
814.
This is my Lexus.
This is crazy, folks. Why are these grouped?
I'm looking at it.
So-
Wood siding is 8, hold on, 818 has the wood siding
Okay, so we've got that covered.
covered there.
Well,
818.
no, you're not, because that wasn't in your motion for
Yes, it
8.
was.
No,
Yes, it was.
You got it?
Yes, okay.
The stem wall to be stuccoed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I had this crawl space vents,
Crawl space.
the chimney base, and the anchor bolts.
And stucco, and stucco some.
Okay.
Yeah,
I heard
No?
pretty sure it was in there.
I also said wood siding portion should have a stuccoed stem wall.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, tell me if I missed it, because I might have.
Apparently,
No.
it's hard of hearing because everybody else heard it.
We'll stipulate to it. I heard it.
Okay, so then it's 1036 and 812 and 814. So what is specific? I have a note here, separate motion, Andrew question mark. What was the deal with 1036?
So I have for 1036.
I think Andrew had mentioned the anchor bolts at that
At that
Um,
point, you
at
say,
that review, but it was pertinent to all
oh, okay, is
structures.
that right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and then so, and then
Yeah,
812 and 814, they were as submitted except for the general conditions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so who would like to, were you gonna do that, Savannah?
I can do that, yeah. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
All right. On the matter of SD-0723-00076, I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. That properties at 812, 814, and 1036 at North Euclid that will be relocated at,
Wait a second, 812 and 814 are East Speedway.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
East Speedway and 1036 North Euclid that are relocated to 926 Second Avenue have the following common conditions: that the crawl space fence come back as a minor review, and that the anchor bolts at the base of the existing or the exterior walls be recessed and stuccoed over.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there further discussion? Okay, if not, Terry votes aye, Savannah,
Aye.
and
Aye.
Ricky.
Aye.
Okay, so, are you guys transcribing while you're recording? Can you check are you seeing it, Jody? I mean, if you want to double check on the third motion,
I don't have it set to transcribing.
oh boy. Okay, so we're sure. So, but we all attest to Savannah mentioning the back of that one with the wood and the, right?
Yeah.
Now Jody's got me crazy thinking about it. All right.
Sorry.
No, we have to be careful. So, okay, so are we good then? Do we cover everything?
Yes, I think you've covered everything.
Okay. All right. So the next steps would be for you guys to move ahead with getting the final plans in. Do the minor reviews have to be done before they move the houses physically?
Yeah, we're having so many moving parts. So,
No, the minor reviews don't have to be done before they're physically moved.
so,
They would be an outstanding item,
cause the
basically,
vents will be the vents. Whatever we do to them, that can be done when they're set. A lot of ways they're set.
they don't need to view the vents, they need to understand what you're gonna do with the vents.
Right.
So, like, what's your plan? Are you gonna use screening material? Are you gonna use some decorative punched metal?
Noel, can I
What's that, sir?
chime in here?
Yeah.
On the structural plans, there's actually a detail for the vents. We were waiting on the calculations from the architect. So the way the homes are being set is they're being set on steel columns on top of footings. And so we have a retaining wall that goes around the outside of the perimeter that gives us the flexibility to set back the retaining wall to accommodate the homes that have stone, or bring it out flush to accommodate the stucco finish, even with the house. In that case, we left an 8-inch space between the top of the retaining wall and the bottom of the floor joist to accommodate vents that will be flush with the outside of the home. So there's it would be so that's the condition of what we're doing, and all we're waiting is for the architect to provide the venting calculations for the crawl space.
So you can set up a minor review to do, if you already know what material you're gonna use, because you're not gonna leave those open
Yeah, no, you critters.
for stuff.
Oh, yeah, you critters are quick.
So you can set up a minor review. Michael can help you do that so that they can view what the vent material is. And then I think that was your only minor review, right?
Yeah.
And then the other stuff, so the other stuff is, and technically your minor review is all part of a recommendation. They're not approving, just like West University didn't approve.
Okay.
Both of these recommendations go to the director, and the director issues a decision letter.
Then for that, would we just come back to this group and go back to West University?
For a minor review, Michael schedules it, so a minor review is one person from West University, usually the chair, and then one person from here, it's usually Ricky. Sorry, Ricky.
Okay.
And then they do a review, they can do it via Zoom or they can do it on site. I'm gonna guess this is probably gonna be via Zoom. And you present your plans, you've submitted them prior so that they know what it is and everything like that.
Okay, cool, so I'll review on that, that shouldn't be a big deal, we'll get the deal. Cool.
Terry?
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
sorry. I was just spacing out here. Here I am. Okay, anyway, so we're good and we can move on to item 4. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, item 4 is public and institutional use in a development zone discussion. Item 4A is discussion on the use of public and institutional buildings as compared to properties in development zone. Now, weren't we gonna wait till all 4 of us or all 6 of us are on in July?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am taking my cues from the full commission and keeping this as a standing item. Just in case everybody shows up.
Well, and we estimated, I think last time, that we thought it would be waiting till all 6 are on.
Yeah, we think it's gonna be July 11th.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's
Maybe.
a standing item, it's fine, it's okay.
It's okay. All right. Alrighty. So then we will wait on that. Item 5 is Task Force and Inclusivity Report Recommendations, 5A. We're also waiting on that. There's no report. Let's move on to item 6, which is current issues for information discussion. 6A is minor reviews. Michael?
Madam Chair, I have tons of minor review waiting for a volunteer. The first one is assigned 130 East Congress. It's a Starbucks sign. Then the second one will be 345 South 4th Avenue. That would be Armory Park. That one is for a solar review. And the third one will be 327 North 4th Avenue, University for roof replacement. Those are the three that are actually need a volunteer because they are ready and we can do them as early as Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then I'll be working on 2 more, which will be 826 North 7th Avenue in West University for fence and gate, and 5396 East San Francisco Loop in Fort Lauderdale for solar panels. But I need a volunteers for this first 3.
I can only do Monday of next week because I'm driving up to Prescott on Tuesday.
Monday?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ricky.
You'll be in touch with Ricky? Michael, you'll just be in touch with Ricky then for plans?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send the plans to you today, Ricky.
Okay, so item 6B is appeals. Michael, do you have anything for us?
No, Madam Chair.
No appeals?
No appeal.
6C is zoning violations.
We continue to do the same thing, working on cases and bring it to you as soon as they're ready for review.
Item 60 is review process. Does anyone have something to bring up? I just wanted to ask Jody, is there any reason why you stopped doing the transcriptions? Or recording those? Because I used to use those a lot.
You know, I never actually did it. It just kind of came up. So it wasn't, so when I was sitting in with the full commission, you know, by myself, I was over in their room, they went Teams. She actually had transcription on, so it was scrolling. When I'm recording this, it's not scrolling on the screen for me. So I
don't think it does, but I think you used to set it up and I would get both things.
And I haven't changed that or messed around with it. It's just not scrolling on the screen. So I'm hesitant to bring it up. God forbid I should stop recording and mess something up.
Now, but if you could check if it's there somewhere, because it really was helpful, especially to find out when cases changed if I had to review something without listening to 2.5 hours of it. Does that make sense?
Understood.
Yeah, and it's just, but I think the only one that's going to be thorny is, and it can be listened to clearly, is, 3B. Okay, anyone else have any review process issues? Okay. All right, so item 7 is summary of public comments. Were any received by the deadline?
We did not receive any.
Okay, and so future agenda items, the next meeting is July 11th.
We will have a sign that's being proposed for it's a heritage landmark sign that's being proposed. You've already seen it as a courtesy review previously. And then a courtesy review for some potential shade sales in Armory Park. That's a courtesy review that they've requested. And then at that point, that's all I have. Then later in July, You'll do a courtesy review for the new construction that's gonna go in. Tentatively doing a courtesy review for the new construction that's going at Euclid and Speedway. And you should also at a later date have 1030 North Euclid, which is one of the properties that's staying there as part of the capstone. And they have an addition at the back that they're proposing to demo. So that's dependent on them getting that material in and getting the schedule. But so far, this is what you have.
Okay, so what does everyone look like they can make the 11th?
I'll be there.
Yes.
Already had a quorum for that from the last meeting.
Yeah, I think we were talking about a quorum at the last meeting.
Oh, okay, but since I wasn't on, I couldn't tell you, so on
Yeah,
vacation, my daughter and her family, and we might be driving back from where we are, but I will do everything I can. I can probably always sit in the back seat with screaming children and if I can make this work, but we'll have to see. So.
we can check closer again to the meeting, do a
Oh, yeah,
quorum.
we have a little time, so we have 3 weeks, so. All right, well, any questions, folks, about any of that future agenda items? Okay, if not, then, we thank everyone for their attendance and hard work today, and we're adjourned at 3:13.
Thank you all for all your help. This one, it's a complicated project and really appreciate your time and assistance, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for knowing how to use Zoom.